I was just remembering in the course of listening to concerned minds and concerned involvement of all of you here, a famous statement made by Abraham Lincoln at the well-known Gettysburg Address. He said, no man is good enough to govern the other person without his consent. A very profound statement. We are talking about how to enhance the quality of living with the consent of the other person. When we talk about people living in despair, we are also talking about the lack of consent, which makes all the world of difference as to why conditions of life elsewhere is deplorable. But how to get that consent and translate it into practice, and to ensure that the quality of life anywhere and everywhere is based on some well-understood principles of dignity and decency. Well, humanity has traveled a long distance in its history in trying to translate into working practice the principles, the fundamental concept of dignity, which every religion, which every philosophical concept, since Socrates, Plato, Aristotle, through European history and enlightenment, has tried to grapple in different ways. But then I also thought when Swamiji was speaking, well, I had a thought passing through my mind. I thought, was he a Marxist in disguise, talking about so many things, which seemed very radical enough to rattle people in their seats and make us sit back and think about it in different ways. And then Marx himself said, look here, philosophers are only either to interpret the world, the point how it's changed. He also made another very important statement, namely how to really change the world. Humanity has been engaged in changing the world. One, in trying to understand its interaction with forms of nature, and so that we have different economic systems which human beings have gone through, and with the ability to, the ability to explain nature and to understand nature, human beings have the very remarkable quality of transforming his relationship with each other, interpersonal relationships, and also relationship with nature. But unfortunately, the interpersonal relationships have lagged behind in what we call enhancement of quality. Whatever reasons one may cite as why we are not able to really promote equality in all its well understood terms and meaning. And that's a bigger task, to promote equality. And well, lots of commentaries have been written at the international level in regard to equality, gender justice. We're not going to talk about it today. But while all of us have tried to explain in different ways and different dimensions as to what exactly the problem, while Chitra was making a presentation, I thought if Maxim Gorky is alive today, he would have rewritten the mother in very, very different language. And again I remembered what Swami Vivekananda was talking about. I used to talk while lecturing in law schools. I think, why do we really talk about Western legal scholars as contributing to jurisprudence? Swami Vivekananda was a great jurisprudential contributor. When he said, feel through till your heart's reel, he was in fact talking about appealing to not only your heart, but your intellect. So when Chitra made that remark, I was thinking about all this, loading my mind. But at the one level, the International Labour Organization has been able to claim remarkable achievements in trying to impress upon the international community that look here, what exactly you're looking at labour is again a one-sided perspective. Migration has been with humanity ever since human beings learned to walk and try to reach sources of livelihood. Migration throughout history has been different, has acquired different sense and meanings. For long it has been a personal initiative. For long it has been a personal search. But when international economic order and international political order reaching new heights, migration becomes a different matter of concern. It's no longer a personal initiative. It's no longer a personal concern. It is humanity's concern, in the sense that when migration necessarily take place, owing to international economic perturbations, international economic order. Look at what the WTO and the GATT has been able to achieve in terms, let's say, look at the anti-dumping provisions in GATT. And why can't we have similar measures in protecting migrant workers' rights and then concerns in different parts of the world? Leave alone the Gulf. Gulf is a very acute aspect of the matter. As Mr. Narayan was trying to point about the internal migration. So international law talks about international, voluntary displacement, involuntary displacement. So we have voluntary migrations and involuntary migrations. So it's not again, therefore we have to transcend all these levels of looking at it and reach in different levels of comprehending why humanity has to deal with migration as humanity's fundamental obligation to deal with as an important dimension of the international economic order and preservation, not merely the personal aspects. Then our legal framework would try to bring in different dimensions and orders. So at one level, therefore, we need to look at it differently. Lip service is the whole issue. So we need to fundamentally and radically look at the legal framework available domestically. Probably it's not an Immigration Act at all. It has to be human resources concern. Let us look at the perspectives must be undergoing change. The Immigration Act talks about something which are dispensable. So please move away from a dispensable looking dimension of migrant labor to looking at the human resources, enhancement, quality, protection, etc. The Human Rights Committee had talked about respect, promotion and protect, which has been part of the international human rights movement. Therefore, we probably bring all this and build into a different, fundamentally different legal framework domestically. So we have options available with us. And the International Labour Organization probably can look at many of these issues differently. We need to look at human resource as a very different level. Fundamentally looking from the point of view of dignity. Of course, the ILO has done very encouraging work, but there is a mismatch between the ILO's ability and the domestic ability to reach and then concretize all this and harmonize them. Therefore, I would really like to probably conclude by saying, you have probably heard through the day lots of presentations, but then we need to change our perspectives. If you look at labor as labor, then you're looking at it differently. We're looking at labor as human resources. Labor as human resources in promotion of equality, we're looking at differently. So let's try to inject different ways of looking at them. Unfortunately, for a long time, the lawmaking process in our country as elsewhere has been caught in very different processes. It has been again an elitist involvement to some extent. It has been a non-participatory involvement at a very different level. So how to therefore enhance the quality of participatory involvement in the lawmaking process? The Gulf example is a very important example. It shows how the non-participatory involvement and the concern with the lack of equality. When you talk of migrant labor, you should talking about equality. So how do you bring in all these elements in here? The domestic framework is a very important exercise to be undertaken. Therefore, probably all of us should engage ourselves in redefining our understanding and perspectives and reformulating certain fundamentally different legal frameworks where principles of equality, dignity and concern 2000 years ago, now that I'm talking as a Tamilian, 2000 years ago, a very famous Tamil poet said, the entire world is ours, let us join, let us rejoice and live together, the being human beings. So this thought has been there with us throughout history, but it has been dwarfed by economic orders, social and political exploitative systems, and therefore we are now, of course, the international economic preservations on the one hand still facilitates exploitation, but it also facilitates, enables freedom from exploitation. At one point of time in the European continent, when these social rights charters are being exploded from 1918 and onwards, there was a discussion about whether we should use the word citizens or workers. So from citizens and workers, there's a lot of difference. So all this thought process has gone on in different parts of the world. So China was cited. For China is being cited at 2 counts. The most developing country. Beautiful. Lots of good things are happening there. The exploitative elements of China are also probably to be told that only for the purpose of saying that without exploitation, a certain element of development is impossible. They have been, development and exploitation are two sides of the same coin. So how do we really liberate them? So these are the important challenges before us. And I'm glad that Gogna has brought all of us here together to become part of a mainstream of different way of looking at things. So it's not a matter of despair. So the way out of despair is what I think we should be talking about. Thank you, Mr. Gogna, and thank you for all your